Okay, another revision video for Of Mice and Men for the GCSE Literature exam, and this one is going to be looking at the style and technique within the novella. Now, if you've seen my other videos on Of Mice and Men, you will know that this is what I think is the central message of the text. It's a social commentary presenting the harsh realities of life in 1930s America. Okay, so this is Steinbeck kind of informing his reader, how difficult it was to live at the time for various different people. It's almost like a documentary, so like the kind of thing you would watch on Channel 4 or BBC Two or whatever, kind of opening up a particular aspect of society at that time. Now, in terms of how Steinbeck structures the novella, you'll notice it's quite clear and simple. It's episodic. They're not called chapters, but for our purposes, we can call them chapters. We have a series of episodes, 6 in total, and they're nice, clear, and simple. It's written in third person, so it's not from one particular character's perspective, viewpoint, but also we follow a variety of narrative perspectives. So at some point at one point we're just with Lenny, one point with George, or with George and Lenny. We see from Crook's perspective in chapter 4. So we see a variety of narrative perspectives, and therefore we can see a range of lifestyles openly within the text. Now it starts and ends in the same place, in the brush, and it has our central characters, George and Lenny, and they're both running away. At the start they're running away from weed, where we learn that Lenny has touched a girl there because he likes the feel of her dress, and he scared her, and so they thought that he was attacking her, and so they've had to run away, and that's exactly how the story ends. This time it's gone a bit too far. Lenny's ended up killing Curly's wife, and they've had to run away. Now, because of this start and end, we would call the structure we would say that the structure is cyclical. In other words, it goes in a cycle. History seems to repeat itself, and it's almost a vicious circle. You do get a sense that this has happened to George and Lenny a lot, and because of that he has to break that cycle at the end. But the structure is cyclical, in a way showing how people were trapped within the lives that they were leading. There was no escape. We see that history repeats itself, and all of the characters are caught in life at the time, and it's not just George and Lenny that are stuck in this cycle because of their specific circumstances. All of the characters are stuck in the particular status quo of the time. Now, as I said, George has to break this cycle, and he does this rather tragically at the end by killing his one and only companion. Now, in terms of the language that Steinbeck uses, it's very simple and direct. A lot of it is dialogue, and in that dialogue he uses slang and dialect, and because of this the language very accurately reflects the characters, the time, and the place. Now, if you want to think about this, dialect is language specific to a particular region, so that's not just accent. Accent is the sound of voice, but dialect are the types of words that you would use. And slang can also represent social groups and times. So, for example, if we were to say something was really, really good and that we really liked it, in the 21st century, we might hear the word sick being used. Oh, that was really sick, not as in sick as in being ill, but sick, it's really good. Go back a couple of decades and you might have heard the word wicked instead to say that it was really good rather than sick. Go back a few more decades and the word groovy would be used. Go back even further and the word spiffing perhaps. Now, through the vocabulary, through the slang and through the dialect, we get a sense of time and place. Now, through this high proportion of dialogue, Steinbeck is giving a voice to those people that do not have a voice, okay? So the migrant workers of the time, Lenny with his learning disability, Candy representing the elderly, Curly's wife representing women, and Crooks representing blacks, the blacks in America who, would not have been given a voice or an identity. So he's kind of representing all of these misrepresented elements of society, and through his language and through the text he is able to give them a voice. Now, symbolism. The symbols that are created, there is this contrast of natural beauty with the life on the ranch. So we start off in the brush and it ends with the brush. And we see that the natural world is one that is at harmony. It is peaceful. It is tranquil. Whereas life on the ranch is a bit more. It is certainly harsh. We have the title of the novella, Of Mice and Men. Now, have a look at my video on the themes within the novel, and we say that that reference, that poetic reference in the title, Of Mice and Men, is talking about how dreams within, at the time were fragile and pointless because they would often fail. And we have the shooting of Candy's dog. This is a huge symbol. It represents Candy's future, not necessarily that he's going to be shot, but that he has outlived his use. And it also foreshadows the mercy killing of Lenny at the end of the novel. Now, I would say that there's minimal symbolism in the novel. The novel is a bit more direct in how it makes things. Particularly, if you've studied for your GCSE Lord of the Flies, that is a text that is filled with symbolism because of the nature of the text as an allegory. But Of Mice and Men, it's a bit more direct in the way that it presents views. In other words, Steinbeck was getting straight to the point. He didn't really want to hide what he thought was an important message beneath lots of symbolism. He wanted to kind of go straight for the jugular